Howdy, E.H. Howard here, and this is another small business talk show. If this is your first time here, welcome. Glad to have you. Hope you will hang around for a while and hear some more of the things that we have to say. The small business, home business, solopreneur, we are an interesting animal. We have a lot of challenges that we face on a daily basis, and some of them are of our own making, some of them are not. And today we're going to talk about one that is somewhat of our own making. It is that no man is an island. No person is an island. And as a small home and solopreneur, the pandemic, the lockdown was probably pretty easy for you, right? Because you're used to being alone. You're used to spending some time by yourself. A lot of time by yourself, usually. So this was like a cakewalk. But that's the good thing, and that's the bad thing. All right, and so let's get into the meat and potatoes of it a little bit more when we get back, and let's see you after the break. All right. Hey there, welcome back. E.H. Howard, and this is the Small Business Talk Show. Hope you're doing well. And thank you for joining us, coming back. So as I was saying at the opening of the show, we are small business owners. We are or home business and solopreneurs. We are an odd beast. And like I said, one of the skills that we have learned is we are always by ourselves. We have a lot of time by ourselves. It makes surviving a pandemic lockdown a really easy thing to do. Not so much for our mental fitness and our mental health some days. And the concept is that no person is an island, okay? And that's kind of the theme that we're going with here today. And the reason for that is, and again, I'm pretty indicative of most small business owners, but I'm going to speak more from my personal experiences and things because I think it's a little bit more relatable. I'm married and I have a spouse, and they work he works just as much as I do, if not more. We spend a lot of our time working and getting things done, and he has a side gig, I have a side gig, so we all have, you get it. And we spend a lot of time working, but we don't have a lot of people to interact with at work, all right? And back in the old days when both of us worked in an office, you could feel connected to people. You could feel like, and you could say, okay, hey, I got a lot done today because, I was talking to Beth and I saw how much, and I feel like we got the same amount of work done, or, hey, I'm really struggling with this problem or this person or what have you. Whatever challenge came up, there was always a sounding board to talk to. If you were struggling with a question, if you needed to whatever there was someone to talk to, there was someone to help you, there was someone to guide you through the process. And when you break out on your own, there is no one to do that. There is no one to sort of help you, someone to talk to, someone to kind of give you some feedback. And so, if you're struggling with something, hey, I got this call from a customer and it was really weird. Can I talk to you about it? Or, hey, we tried this new thing. What did you think of this new product or software? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Bounce some ideas off of them. And when that happens, we sort of, because that's away from us, we have to kind of figure these things all out on our own. And we have to sort of self-analyze and self-assess and course correct as we think in the situation is appropriate. All right. So for example, let's kind of look at it in a little bit more tangible way. You get a call from a consumer and they're not happy. They throw a fit about this product or service that you sold them, and they're yelling and screaming, and they hang up the phone. And you need to address it, you need to deal with it, but you don't have anybody to talk to about how to deal with it, okay? So you sort of you're a bit emotional about it because someone has been yelling and screaming at you. So in that moment, you are trying to self-assess, make an impartial decision, and then move on with a solution that will better help anybody. And it's like asking you to be Mr. Spock, because suddenly you're supposed to be non-emotional about the whole thing as someone is yelling and screaming at you, and resolve the problem in a way that doesn't lose you money but gives them what they want, right? And I know that sounds like an extreme example, and that's on purpose. I kind of wanted it to be an extreme example. So if you were in an office situation, if you were at some places, put them on hold. You could either pass it to the supervisor, which is always a nice thing to do. Hey, boss, hey, I'm going to send this over to you. Now it's your problem to deal with. But you can always put them on hold and then say to the person next to you, what do I do? How do I resolve this? What are the solutions that I can give you? And you can get an impartial, somewhat impartial person to give you some feedback and input and kind of help you navigate the situation that you don't have when you are on your own. You don't have that solution. So you need to, in the moment, I mean, yes, you can put them on hold, but you can't leave them on hold for a couple hours. You can only leave them on hold for so long, and then you've got to get back on there and deal with the situation. And it's more frustrating because, you know, at least in the industry, you can say, well, if they're not still happy, I'm going to forward it up the chain and send it on. When it's your own business, you're the end of the line. Your customer service, your complaint line, your everything. And so you need to deal with it. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, is those things of like, we really have no one to help us as a sounding board. The only people we have to help us are ourselves. And that can be a dicey thing sometimes, because sometimes, you know, we're not the best judges because we're in the moment. All right, let's take a break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about a little bit more about how to counter this and some solutions on what to do when that happens, and how to be a little bit more successful in the moment. All right, I'll see you after the break. EH here again, and we're talking today about no person being an island, and the idea that we need to sort of take ourselves out of the situation, assess the situation when things are bad, and then make a good decision based in the moment, and that's not always an easy thing to do. And there are ways that we can counter it, and there are ways that we can deal with it that don't allow us to, don't force us to make a rash decision in the moment when we're emotional. Okay, and so one of the key things, one of the aspects of things I talk about a lot is reaching out to other businesses. We need to see other small home and solopreneur businesses as allies, not as competition. And you'll find that's a running theme. One of the running themes, one of the many running themes that in my videos, is that we need to really understand and value what other businesses can offer us. So, for example, it doesn't even have to be in your industry, because we all have, you know, consumers that drive us crazy. I don't care what industry. That's why the problem child category exists, because every industry has problem children. Okay, and a lot of times when we have an issue with another person, it isn't. It's emotional, and it's not factual, and it's more behaviors based. You know, like they were asking for this thing and I didn't understand what it was and I was confused, and then I kept asking them to, and they weren't explaining it right, and they got really annoyed. And then, but talking to another business, they could say, you know what, I've had a client just like that. I've had a consumer just like that. There was like no winning. As soon as I said this thing, we were down a path we weren't going to get off of, like they were hell-bent for whatever. It's nice to be able to share experiences with people who can then say, you know what, I've had that same experience. I understand where you're coming from. I get it. It's also nice to have somebody to share your achievements with. And as much as your loved one, your husband, your spouse, your significant other, whoever is in your life, as much as they can be excited for you, want to be excited for you, and a lot of times, when I was working in industry, like my husband wouldn't understand, like, okay, well, I got 2 seconds of animation done today, and in industry that's a big thing, but you come home and they're like, oh, 8 hours and 2 seconds. No, that's not what he said. But like in their mind, that's not as a big accomplishment. So sometimes it's nice to have somebody that you can share things with. You know what? Hey, I finally got this big client and I've been wanting, can we share? Like it's nice. And if nothing else, if you, and I mean, there's many reasons to join a networking group, and there's many reasons to participate in networking events, or join your chamber and participate in the events that they have. It is because you're building that camaraderie. You're building that community of other people who you can reach out to when you need to and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I'm jumping. Do you know, or hey, do you know anybody that does, that's one of the nice things. Is it was a nice touchstone every week to be able to go in and sit down with other businesses and be like, hey, is anybody struggling with, and I think at the time, one of the things we were all struggling with at the time, was, and we're all still who isn't struggling with this, is these spoof phone calls. It was just when they were first starting, and I remember, saying to my group, I'm like, I've just about had it, because it looks like it's a local number, like local area number. So I answer it thinking it's going to be, a potential consumer, or it's a client, or whomever. And half of my day is spent now dealing not only with the fake ones, but the ones that now are like clearly robocalls, because they know they've got a live person. And so we had a long discussion about that. And it was really nice to be able to sit down and talk to people who were struggling with the same things. Like, yeah, I'm really afraid to pick up the phone because I don't know who's on the other end. I don't know if it's going to be a telemarketer. I don't know if it's going to be, one of these fake, your warranty's expired people. Like, I don't know what it is. And it's really hard to run my business with these things happening. And so we, did we come up with a solution? No, there really wasn't one at the time. There still really isn't one. But again, camaraderie made me feel that it was something I could, okay, I'm not the only person going through this. Other people are suffering with this. How are they dealing with it? And then it became a thing where, then we started sharing, really great, like, oh, this telemarketer called and said this, or this telemarketer called and said that. And we would share, like, the war stories of it. And those were really great things. And again, that's, if nothing else, yes, you're going to grow your business, and if you do it right, and you're going to meet other businesses that can help you grow your business, and, all of that. But one of the number one aspects of joining a local networking chapter was that camaraderie, that feeling of, there's other businesses that are struggling with the same thing I do. There was a time where a couple of them were talking about, the foot traffic in their neighborhood had died down, and they were wondering what was going on, and come to realize that, there was construction that was blocking this one important thoroughfare down the street. So there was and knowing that, then they could actually be like, okay, well, it wasn't us that did anything. And now we can adjust. We can kind of figure and again, it's one of these things that I really like is you have all the information. You're making a decision about your business now based on valid information. that is why is one of the great things about reaching out to other people. And if you can't join a networking group, and I know it's an expensive endeavor, it can be, a cost thing, but there are other groups that you can join. Now, you can get the same thing on social media. You can join groups on Facebook, and you can participate in little things on Facebook. I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. I think Facebook needs a lot of cleaning up to do. I don't always trust the other person on the other end of a Facebook conversation. If that's the only way that you can do it, then do it. At least it's something. But, maybe think about, getting another couple of groups of businesses together and starting. And it doesn't have to even be business. Just, hey, I want to get together and have lunch every once a month, and let's just sit down as businesses and talk. I had wanted to start a program like that before the pandemic hit, and that kind of got scuttled to the side thanks to COVID. But go out to dinner once a month with a group of other businesses where we can sit down and say, hey, has anybody been dealing with this issue, telemarketers or spam phone callers, or there's construction down the street, or we all use this piece of software and it's not working right, whatever it is, whatever topics that we have. That was another idea that I kind of wanted to kind of get out there. And but it's about reaching out, and at minimum, and again, this should be part of your sales and marketing anyway, even if you're not, is reaching out to other businesses and kind of connecting with them, because you never know who can help you or how they can find you some super fans and some casual consumers and some betties. But just call somebody up and say, you know what, hey, I'm looking for another fellow business to kind of, just vent to every once in a while. You want to go out and grab coffee, or hey, we're in the same industry. I see you, at some of these events. You want to go out and grab some coffee, whatever it is. But try and connect with people. Try and build that personal relationship, because again, that's what small business is all about: is building those relationships. We really like doing that. I have a great friend who built a really substantial following over Zoom during the pandemic, because she would have coffee with people. Hey, you just want to sign on to Zoom, have coffee with me, and let's just kind of air things out. Let's get some things going. And she's built a really robust group of people and a really good audience, just from figuring out how to reach out to people, because much like me, she thought the pandemic plays to my strengths. But that's the key, is just really kind of reaching out to other people, realizing that you are not an island, that you are, a part of a chain of islands, that all of you can help each other, and hopefully people will start reaching out to you. There's one of the networking groups, they have a phrase that says givers gain. Once you start to give, you will start to get stuff back in return, and that's the best thing. So hopefully people will start to reach out to you and want to start to expand, hey, I see you're dealing with this, how did you deal with that? Okay, I think that's about it on this topic. I think I've kind of exhausted it all. I'm E.H. Howard, and this has been the Small Business Talk Show. It is on Patreon 2 weeks early. If you're watching this on Patreon, you get it early. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe below. Would love a like and subscribe. Wouldn't mind that. If you're also going to pop over to Patreon, join us there, because there's a lot of other exclusive content, other things that are going on, live discussions, workshops, those kinds of things. Follow me on social media. I am E.H. Howard literally everywhere. Just Google E.H. Howard and I'll pop up, at least in the first 20 or 30 area. And that's a little bold of me, isn't it? This guy, right? Follow me on social media. ehhoward.com. Open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We never close. We are always there. While you're there, join the mailing list so we can keep you updated on everything that's coming up in the next couple of weeks and months. We're going to be doing some collaborations, let you know about some exclusive Patreon content. Also over on Patreon, we're going to be doing the 2-minute challenges. We had been doing them over on Facebook, but we're not going to do that there anymore. And we're going to move over to Patreon. And other than that, I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.